So hopefully that, yeah, no, not hopefully, definitely. Man, I've got such a big social life all of a sudden. Do you plan to do a deconstruction of one of your recent tracks? Can you please have a discussion with the other Mousetrap artists? You guys control the content. So I'm just going to leave that comment there. I don't care if it's spam or not. Hey guys, welcome to the Kane audio vlog. It's not Friday, it's Thursday. I'm recording this a day early, but for you guys watching this, it's probably Friday. It's time for another Ask Me Anything. Usual rules apply. Comment anything you want below this video and I'll get back to you in next week's video. Apologies to anyone that may have commented in the last 24 hours. Clearly I wouldn't have got to your question. Before I get started on last week's video, is there any house admin to cover? I'm sure there is. Let me have a look. I'm starting to write stuff down. Covered all of those things in the past few weeks. Spotify playlist, that has now been updated, so any of you that listen to this AMA on Spotify, you know exactly where I am. For anyone else, jump onto Spotify and look for Dom Kane Presents Tonal Display. I've changed the name of the playlist. It was called Dom Kane and Friends, which is initially what it was. It was literally just my buddies from the music industry and their music, and I kind of felt like I wanted it to be more than just that, so it just kept that name for ages, and then I've changed the name, so it's now called Tonal Display. What else do I need to say? Oh, one more thing. I won't shout you out personally because I don't know if you wanted that or not, but a massive thank you to you know who you are on Patreon, my first ever Patreon. So yeah, I've been, so I'm not really au fait with how all of this works, but basically I know that a way of sort of paying for these videos and podcasts and whatever is setting up a Patreon account where people can donate or give monthly donations or anything along those lines. I've been kind of putting the link below these videos for ages really, and then I stopped for a while because I thought, oh, that's stupid. I just feel like I'm begging. And then I started again because I noticed a few weeks ago that actually I hadn't even activated my Patreon account, which shows how crap I am at doing these things. So yeah, I finally got around to activating it properly, and so I started the last few videos. I've just dropped a link to my Patreon account below the video, and figured, you know what, if someone wants to donate something, great. If they don't, they don't. So I've never pushed it, but someone has for the first time, and that's brilliant. It genuinely feels good because it kind of feels like someone actually appreciates the work I do and the effort I go through to get these videos out. And yeah, I guess it's one of those things that you never really expect. So yeah, thank you very much to you, and obviously if anyone else wants to, there will probably be a link below this video for my Patreon account. Last week I also mentioned that I am going to be playing at the Mousetrap party. It's like a pre-Creamfields party in London, August 22nd. So hopefully that, yeah, no, not hopefully, definitely, I saw it. That did go out live on that day. That day, so last week we're talking about I had to film this again a day early. Man, I've got such a big social life all of a sudden. Because I went to the Universal Records headquarters for a composers party, which was awesome. Really nice to see their new offices actually in King's Cross in London. Man, they got some nice offices with a beautiful balcony and stunning views over London. Yeah, so that was good, apart from the nightmare traffic on the way back. And then this weekend I'm filming this a day early again because I am playing Nostock Festival tomorrow. So that's today for you watching the video or listening to the podcast. Yeah, so this is my third time playing Nostock anyway, and headlining the Elephant's Graveyard stage there every year. It's been fantastic. Huge shout out to my mate Sonny Wharton and the whole Wartone Records crew for organising it every year. It's a killer stage in a killer festival. It's such a great festival. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm kind of pretty much prepped for it now. I think I've sort of chosen the main bulk of the music in kind of what direction I'm going to go. I'm going to be closing the stage this year on Saturday night, so I'm just going to rinse it basically. So yeah, I look forward to seeing any of you. If you are going to Nostock Festival, then give me a shout, let me know, and I'll be around pretty much all weekend, I think. So yeah, and I think that is it for house admin. I don't think there's anything else I need to cover. No. It would probably help though if I opened up a YouTube page for last week's video to read the comments. So let's have a look. Okay, Ask Me Anything 61 was last week. And let's just start at the top. Mana Usling. Thanks for the help, Dom. This channel is such a hidden gem. You're welcome. And there's a reply. Someone saying, so true. Thank you very much. FanFan87. Hey, Dom. Thanks for everything. Joining the group right now. I need help, but I can easily propose help too. So yeah, I did see that you've just joined the Facebook group because I checked there this morning and you posted a track of yours asking if anybody's got any advice or tips or whatever, and I did listen to the track, and it's a really good track actually. So if any of you guys are members of the Dom Kane producer group on Facebook, then check that track out because it's a banger. Do you plan to do a deconstruction of one of your recent tracks, like showing channel by channel the making of Stoic? Funny you should mention that. Yes, I have recorded it and submitted it, and it will be going out through sonicacademy.com soon, but I don't know when exactly. I still need to film a couple of promo-y bits for it, I think. And I think they've got to do the final edits and whatever, but yeah, basically I've already filmed the going through it. And yeah, I'm really proud of that tutorial actually. I think, I think, but hey, who am I to judge? I'm really proud of it. I think there's lots of handy stuff in there, and I think what I try to do with these tutorials, I know, you know, companies like Sonic Academy, you have to pay for the tutorial, but I go through Sonic Academy because I feel like their subscription is well worth paying. I have a subscription myself, and it allows you to look at not just my tutorial, but hundreds of other tutorials, and there's all sorts available on there. So I do highly recommend, if you're any level producer, I do recommend signing up to Sonic Academy. You can, if you want, just buy individual tutorials, and they have great forums and stuff where you can ask questions and whatever. I think that's all great. So it's a good community, and yeah, I do recommend Sonic Academy. So yeah, so it'll be coming out through those guys, and I cover sort of the backstory of how I came about the chord phrase, and I think I've kind of talked about that a little bit on this channel. about how with my last EP I kind of chickened out of breaking the rules. So this EP I decided I am going to break the rules in terms of music theory. So I talk a lot about that, cover the sort of music theory side at the beginning, and then I go through stem by stem from beginning. I recreate the track from start to finish without without having anything sort of pre-made for me. So so I think that's going to be a good one, and I do try with these things because, like I say, they are paid for tutorials. So I know that a lot of people out there have sort of already watched maybe 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 of my other tutorials. So I try to make sure that each one is different, and that's why I don't do too many each year. So for example, the last one I did for Sonic Academy, so I've just done this one. The last one I did was February last year, so that's like 18 months ago. So there's been a good gap, and there's my techniques have changed somewhat. Obviously all the theory and whatever's still there, but there'll be new techniques in there. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. So yeah, there we go. And Zombo, nice video, Dom. When you're done playing your show, can you please have a discussion with the other Mousetrap artists so that they can come on your upcoming podcast and maybe take some questions from the audience? Maybe you'll consider it. Maybe it's a bit too early to tell, but I would love it if it happened. So it is. I've replied saying definitely on the cards. It's this whole podcast thing. I think I need to maybe film a pilot episode or 2 first, just so that I know what the format is, because at the moment, like, I want the format of the podcast to be similar to this, although this is a completely different, different content. But I do want it to be long form, and I want it to be kind of off script. So in terms of asking questions from the audience, I probably won't do that, or at least not to begin with. I don't know, maybe I'll just pick 3 questions or something from the audience, because it's kind of tricky. So the way I want the podcast to be is to be basically 0 script and just having a chat, and who knows what we talk about. It might be good, might be bad, who knows. So that's kind of how I want it to be. If I start asking very specific questions from the audience, then it becomes a bit more scripted, because so I think I have to be a bit more careful with that. But again, we'll see. I might just put it out there on social media, a couple of days before, and say, has anyone got any questions? And if they've got a good question, then maybe I'll ask it, maybe I won't. But I don't want that to be a rule. I don't want it to be like this AMA, basically, because this AMA is already its own thing, and you guys control the content. And some of these videos go on for maybe 15-20 minutes, and some of these videos go on for like an hour, and I love that, because that's down to you guys out there whether the videos are long or short or whatever, other than my odd rant. And I like that, and that's its own thing. And I think I have to be careful that it's not just a controlled AMA for other artists, because I think that would make this whole channel just nothing but AMAs, and then it becomes a bit boring. That's how I see it anyway. So we'll see. But you also mentioned Mousetrap artists. I am going to be going to Amsterdam for ADE in October, and I believe there will be a couple of Mousetrap people there. I've also got the gig in August, and clearly there will be a couple of Mousetrap people there. So depending on the timings of things, I'm hoping to try and get down a bit early to the gig, and if I can, then I might try and record a couple of podcasts. So we'll see how it goes. Next. Casey Music. Hey Dom, watched all the AMA episodes, just didn't have any questions. Now here's one. What's the difference between dynamic EQ Pro Q3 and multiband compression? It kind of does the same things, right? Or am I not getting something here? Which of them do you use and where? So I'm not entirely sure because I don't use Pro Q, so I can't really answer that. But if they're trying to claim it's something different to multiband compression, then it's probably a compressor or multiband compressor with EQ, perhaps staggered with a before and after compression. So I've mentioned this before. If you use an EQ on a channel before a compressor, and let's say for example you're putting an additive high shelf, so you're boosting the highs in, I don't know, some hi-hats, and then you're chucking them through a compressor. The compressor, a standard compressor, treats all frequencies equally. It doesn't have a preference. So if you're boosting the highs, all you're doing is pushing the highs through to hit the threshold of the compressor early, and the compressor's going to compress them. So really the EQ is not going to have a massive effect. It will have some effect, but it won't have a massive effect. Whereas if you move that exact same EQ and put it to the right of the after the compressor in the chain, then it would have a much stronger effect, because it's not, you're compressing the signal and then you're boosting the highs, and so the boosting of the highs, if you're boosting by 3 dB, they'll be boosted by 3 dB. If you're boosting by 3 dB before a compressor, then you're going to get an additional 3 dB pre-gain reduction, which will probably be 3 dB extra-ish, depending on characters and whatever. But in theory, that's essentially what you're getting. Whereas with multiband compression, it compresses based on frequencies. So assuming you have a standard 3-band multiband compressor, then it's only listening to those low frequencies in the low end, mid frequencies in the mid, and high frequencies in the high. So if you boost the highs, the low frequencies are completely unaffected by that. So that's kind of the difference-ish, I guess. So in terms of dynamic EQ's kind of a made-up word. It's not officially a thing. So it's probably whoever made Pro Q3, it's probably their words, and I would imagine, I can't guarantee this is right because I haven't seen Pro Q3, but I would run on the assumption that if they're claiming it's different to multiband compression, then it's probably something to do with where the equalization occurs within the chain compared to the compression, or if they put a weighting distribution on the EQ curve mid compression, something like that. So rather than having, for example, with multiband compression, like I said, the low frequency only deals with the lows, the mids, there's a crossover. Let's say, again, I'm making this up, but let's say the crossover is 500 hertz. So anything below 500 goes into the lows, anything above 500 goes into the mids. Well, I guess a dynamic EQ might not have that crossover. It just puts a weighting to a curve. So I guess you program it to tell it, I want to keep the crisp transients, i.e. the highs, while compressing the mids or whatever, and there'll be a gentle curve rather than an immediate kind of crossover. I'm clutching at straws here, but I guess that's probably what it does. you say it kind of does the same thing. Yeah, basically. I mean, we're all, all of these things deal with frequencies and spikes or compressions. So they're basically the same thing, to be honest. I mean, I know the purists out there and the nerds out there are going to disagree and go, oh, they're completely different. Well, whatever. The thing is, I always sort of try to get through to people in saying that, for example, some people will talk about how this compressor is 10 times better than this compressor, but have you ever heard a record on the radio and gone, oh, that's an SSL compressor that did this, or oh, I think this snare drum went through a Fairchild 610 compressor? We don't know, and it really doesn't, it doesn't make that much of a difference at the end of the day. It's all just coming out some speakers, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Which of them do you use? Sorry, my phone's going weird. Which of them do you use and where? So I don't use Pro Q3, I think we've established that, or Dynamic EQ. I do sometimes use multiband compression, usually only when I'm really happy with a mix and I want to just finalize the mix. And so on the master channel, in part of the maybe master or pre-master process, I might put a little bit of multiband EQ, multiband compression. Not very much though. I don't do it very often. Outside of that, I sometimes, if I have a bass line that has stereo field transients or some sort of reverb in the high frequency parts, there's some sort of harmonic in there, then sometimes I might want to try and control those harmonics and either make them louder or quieter compared to the low end of the bass. So sometimes I might do that. If it's so the only time you should really need multiband compression is when you're trying to control one frequency against another. So it's, because if something, if an element of a channel is spiking, you'd use a compressor to bring it down and level it all out. If that's only occurring in one frequency band, then you'd be better off using multiband compression to bring that spike down. If it's a high transient or something, use multiband compression to bring that spike down so that you're not affecting the rest of whatever it is. I guess that's really what it's invented for. Regarding Discord, I think it is great to have a combination of written group chats and voice chats. It has a better community too, I think. Okay, I didn't know you could do voice chats on Discord. That's something to bear in mind. Note, my EP is coming out this week. Since you allowed it, I will drop a link here. Yep, I did. I remember you saying that your EP was coming out, and since you are a regular contributor to this channel, I'm happy to leave your link there. Let that be a note to everyone else, though. Don't go spamming this channel with links to Beatport or whatever. So yeah, Lumbeats, hey Dom, no questions this week, just wanted to say I'm digging the new EP, thank you very much. Raphael, I'm totally speechless here with the response. Thanks so much, Dom Kane. I'm super honoured with the patience you had. Good to know that you guys have a Facebook group entering right now. I've seen you there as well, so that's good. And as someone said in another comment, this channel is indeed a precious gem on the internet. Keep rocking. Thank you very much. High five. Oh, and then the final lol for the day. So this is basically it. 25 minutes. We've done pretty well this week. Some idiot called Kerry's World who has commented saying, mesmerizing, woo, we love this video, we've liked and joined you, keep it up and connect back on YouTube if you can, kiss kiss. Yeah, clearly that's a spam bot, and clearly Kerry's World is using some sort of bot to auto comment on recommended videos or something like that, because I looked at their channel as well, and it's I can assure you they're not the kind of people that would have spent an hour last week listening to me ranting and raving about audio nerd stuff. Yeah, it made me laugh anyway, so I'm just going to leave that comment there. I don't care if it's spam or not. So there we go. That is it for this week. I hope you all have a good weekend. Is there anything I need to mention in closing? I don't think there is. Under half an hour, that's pretty good. Right, I will see you again next Friday. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, the usual gump. Definitely on YouTube. I know some of you are now listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you do that, then please do head over to the YouTube channel and get onto this video and drop a comment below this video. Ask me anything you want. It can be about music, sound design, production, software, hardware, personal life, anything you want. Where I get my t-shirts from, you name it. I get my t-shirts from H&M, I think. They're like 3 for a tenner, something like that. Yeah, ask whatever you want, and I'll see you this time next week. Cheers, have a good weekend.